Climbers Country Radio Seminar happened last week. It's a big deal. The headline for the seminar for 2022 read like this: Country Radio Seminar to address big issues. 1. COVID-19. 2. Diversity. 3. And radio's downsized role. Dope! Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the new music business. That's what you're going to need, leverage. They got to come to you because you got what they want. It's not just about your talent anymore. It's about a track record. It's about proving that your songs have value, that your music, that your art has value in the marketplace. They're not betting on it and taking a diamond in the rough and turning it into a household name anymore. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner that you'll change your game plan, you'll create some leverage, you'll create some business, and then they will come to you, the labels, the management companies, the booking agencies, everything. And that's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a Baxternym from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. He is an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. He's had a couple number ones very recently in the last 24 months on Southern Gospel. He's got a song on a Grammy-nominated album. He's got a song on a Dove-nominated album. So he's like, you're award-winning adjacent. Like you're there. What I love about Brent is he helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro. And then the last piece of that puzzle is to create relationships with the pros when you're competitive. And he helps you do that too. You can find Brent at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but Johnny knows all the big words and what they mean. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
How you living?
I'm living like a crazy person, but it's all good. It's all nothing that's going to make the news, so it's all good.
Yeah, me too. I'm a little, truth be told, slightly banged up today. Not too bad, but a little banged up.
Yeah.
After work, I went to a happy hour Oyster Fest. They get a brand new restaurant. It's in the W Hotel. It's called the Dutch. And so my buddy Andy Kropf and I, we always go to. He's a singer of Ocean Street, right? Killer Boys. And we like to get together and go to Oysters and different places around town. You can get them. And we tried this place out. They got happy hour drinks and happy hour oysters, and we did that from like 5:30 to 7, and then Blue Foley's 50th birthday party was at the freak show last night. So, I mean, dude, it was a madhouse. Everybody was there, everybody, all the writers, all the people. And so it was just a great time. Yeah, man. So I had, I may or may not have been overserved.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little banged up today too, but it's because, Hazel started throwing up all over the kitchen, like day before yesterday. And, so my stomach's feeling a little weird now. I'm like, oh boy. Okay.
Our lives
we'll
are so
see.
Different.
We'll see. I know. I'm like, oh man, he was at a Blues 50 party. He's out there having oysters, and I'm cleaning up. I don't know what she had to eat.
I don't know what that
off
was.
A tile floor.
Could have been an alien.
it might. I think it tried to crawl back in her at one point.
Yeah.
And,
hey, look at the blessing. It was a tile floor. That's always
good. Tile floor. I'm like, thank goodness we got these a deal on these. So I already had the tile, but like we redid some of the floors, and thankfully the place in town here had a bunch of basically it's like industrial strength like flooring, And we're like,
Ah,
yes, give us that, like
yeah.
restaurant style, like it's ready for a lot of feet to. Yes, give
We
us
might need to pour acid on this sumbitch to make sure that it's clean and
right.
yeah.
And we
You
just
know,
have a
I don't
lot
know
of
if bleach is gonna do it. We're gonna need to upgrade to industrial strength cleaner for whatever the heck's coming out of whatever part of somebody's body in this family.
yes, there is that, and just the wear and tear on the floors. So you have an
Sure.
army, and it's like, yeah, give us the industrial strength stuff. So yeah, Johnny and I are both making it through, although for quite different reasons. It's funny because I'm like, man, you're just like, oh, we got all these oyster places in town. I'm like, in this little
I like
town I live
oysters.
in, we have a Chinese place.
Got along John Silver's.
We do, yeah, we do. Haven't been there yet because I don't go anywhere. And yeah, he's going to oyster bars and stuff, and I haven't even made it to the Long John Silver's yet. We are living very different lives, my friend, but it intersects in this magical, wonderful place called music,
That's
and
right. So,
one thing I'm thankful for.
today we're gonna talk about, country radio seminar. Again, it happened last week. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what this is, it's an annual convention where all the program directors from all the country radio stations, coast to coast, converge on the Omni Hotel in downtown Nashville to create and deepen relationships with industry people and artists, from the very biggest artists all the way down to indies like you. And I know for a fact that some climbers were there in attendance. And we're going to talk about, I mean, goodness gracious, the headline on this was in your programs.
Yeah.
I hope it isn't lost on you that we have one of the largest industry seminar conventions from one of the most popular formats in the country,
Hmm.
all about terrestrial radio. And they're discussing radio's diminishing role, dot, 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 in breaking artists.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
what that means,
they
right?
said the
Everybody
quiet part
get
out
that?
loud.
Ooh,
Yeah.
so that's what we're going to get into, but let's take care of a little business first. Join the
Yes.
Climb community, facebook.com/groups/climb, the Climb community.
Hmm.
And you got to ask to be let in. We let everybody in. And man, this is a thriving community, guys. Singers, songwriters, hooking up, getting co-writes, making miracles happen, asking marketing questions, talking about getting answers on different questions from a support group. And we want to support you, and we want to cheer you on too, right? We want to make sure we
Hmm.
should give you a high five for the gig. We want to give you a high five for your latest song that you put out. Talk about your wins and all that stuff. You just got to put that stuff in the right place. Don't put it in the feed. It doesn't belong in the feed. If you put it in the feed, you're going to hear from somebody. Okay.
That's right.
But we have lots of places to put it. In this case, like, let's talk about some wins, right?
Yeah. So some wins. So every Wednesday we post our New Heights segment. So climb New Heights. You see what we did there, and it's where we encourage you to share your music related wins, recent ones that we can all celebrate with you. So it's a great place to get a little attention for yourself, but it's invited, right? So you're not just interrupting us. And people know where to find it, and some good conversation happens there and good encouragement. But I love this one. Sunday Joe Graham says, yesterday, myself and the three amigos, which is Patrick Adams, Brad Hacker, and Chris Tiscarino, were
Oh,
off.
hold on. I got to interrupt you. I'm so excited about this
Yes,
because we're involved.
we're involved. We're offered a single song contract with Nancy Peacock for I Think I'll Buy Myself Flowers. Woot woot. So, which is awesome. So, if that title sounds familiar to you climbers, I Think I'll Buy Myself Flowers, because that was a song titled challenge song. I don't have the number of it, and we've done over 100 of them, but it was one of them. And I remember they sent that in, and I don't know whose title it was, but song
I
title
think it's
challenge.
Sunny Joe's title.
Was it
Pretty
her
sure it's
title?
Sunny
And
Joe's.
then she got I guess, brought into Patrick, Brad, and Chris, and then they wrote the heck out of it. Got a good Troy Johnson demo on it, and sounds good. And
Troy
so,
Johnson sang that song, bitch.
oh,
Oh my gosh, I love him.
yeah, he's
He's
so
just a
good.
vulgar display of prowess.
Yeah, he's working on a thing for me right now, so he's great. Anyway, so they got
Awesome.
offered a single song contract with the publisher, Nancy Peacock, and we're Tickle Pink. We feel like kind of like proud godparents.
Well, you know what? I
Maybe.
mean, and this doesn't take anything away from the writers at all, right? Because they are the ones that had to have the skill to put together, to make the donut that got the single song contract. But hey, man, that came from the climb.
There we go. Climb community, climb show.
I
So
feel like at the very least, because we've had this happen like a number of times now. Like this is
Mhm.
becoming kind of a regular thing, which I'm, proud to say
Yeah.
that where we'll do a song title challenge, and then all of a sudden a climber will reach out to the title
Mhm.
person and be like, "Oh my god, I know how to write that.
Yeah.
Can we write that together? Can we do that? Because
Mhm.
I know what to do." Right? And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 and you get a demo, and then it's just a matter of getting out there and exploiting it,
Yeah.
and
It's like we're doing their co-write prep. And then they're like, "That's great, good ideas. All right, let's go write it." But again, we want
and I wonder how that came out. Was it anything from probably wasn't anything we came up with. But
I
still, we
think there was. I think there was stuff. I mean, because we cover so much, they very well may have gotten there themselves. Probably would have. They're good writers, but
of course.
still,
Well, we
still,
didn't write it. We just had a
we didn't
concept.
write it.
I'm just wondering if
We
they went on
brainstormed.
concept, so it's all about their writing, but it's just I wonder
Yeah,
if they took an angle that we cooked up or not. I don't
I, I,
remember.
I think so. I think so. It's been a while since I've heard the song, but it's a good one. So, either way, congratulations to y'all. That's super cool. Um, I have a win actually for the week, so it's fun. Another actually product of the climb. Kind of somewhat, but it's been on the climb. The God of Gideon, which
Mhm.
I wrote with Lee Black, who's also did a song title challenge with us and was recorded by the Foresters. We did a video content challenge with Mark Forrester on God of Gideon. It's up to number 45 in the Singing News Power 50. So that's like the big Southern gospel chart. And this is only like their third or fourth single, and they're an independent. So, to get up where it's charting is a big deal for them. So Mark
Mhm.
was super excited about that. So that's fun. Oh, also Brooklyn Blackmore, who is video content challenge number 12 with Missing the Moon, that I wrote with
Yeah.
her and Aaron Goodman. So she just released a lyric video on that. So I haven't even had a chance to watch it yet. I saw just a little
Oh,
clip
I need
of it
to
on
watch that.
socials, but I need to go watch it. But yeah, so that's fun to see some of those songs that we've, brought on the show and have a little bit of intersection with the climb here doing some stuff. So
Yeah,
that's
just a
pretty
little
cool.
bit of whatever, influence, inspiration.
Just all one big happy
Even if we made them
thing.
think,
Exactly.
even if they didn't choose like whatever angle we came up with, and they just thought about it more
Yeah.
and came up with the cool angle that led to that lyric in that song that got them that single song contract. I think that's cool. That's the
So,
idea.
yep. So fun stuff going on, and we have others, but we don't have time for everything.
That's right. Well, listen, follow the podcast or subscribe to the podcast, depending on what platform you're on. Leave a rating and review on iTunes, please, and tell a friend about it. That's the big deal. I mean, if you're listening, if you're getting benefit from this, if you're learning stuff from the climb, then you got to share it with a friend. Like, do your part to
Mhm.
spread the news, man. Have you heard the good
Right.
news? The climb.
We could all use some good news.
That's not sacrilegious, right? Like, um, all right. So okay, there's oh my god, there's so much going on with this. So my last episode, we talked about market penetration, right?
Yes.
Because market penetration is actually why an artist begins to go from nowhere to selling records and selling tickets, or in this case, getting streams.
Mhm.
Market penetration,
Reach and frequency. They're reaching the
right?
people enough that they know they're reaching them. Yeah.
Right. And now the vehicle for decades and decades and decades to do that was radio.
Mhm.
So because we're human and because it's just been going on for so long, right? Like if I say I need to blow my nose, please hand me a
Kleenex.
Kleenex, right? Why? Because Kleenex was the first brand in the marketplace for tissue paper, right?
Right. It's
If
actually
I
a
say I
tissue.
need to make a copy of this, I need you to copy this document, I need a
Xerox.
Xerox copy, even though it's a Canon copier or a different brand, right?
Yeah.
Like why? Because they were first in the marketplace, right? That
Mhm.
this is,
Oh
and
man,
then so we,
back in Arkansas, it was all Coke. It was all Coke. It didn't matter if
yeah,
it was Mountain Dew or Pepsi. Hey, I'd like a Coke.
that used
What
to piss
kind?
me off. Hey, when I
Pepsi.
came down to Nashville first, like I learned that at the bullpen, my first
Mhm.
job in Nashville in '95 when I first moved to Nashville. Everybody's like, I need this, and like a crown of Coke. And I'm like, okay. And I make them a crown of Coke. And like, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's a crown of Coke, not Coke, Coke. And I'm like,
What do
what do
you
you mean?
mean?
Like all soda is Coke. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
All soda is Coke. Now you have to specify. And that's how it
Yeah,
was.
like you have to ask. Like I didn't know. As the bartender, you got to ask, what kind of Coke you want? I want Sprite. Okay, it seems like
It's like different company.
from a dialect, from an English dialect in the southern United States,
Yes.
that I find to be very charming and also efficient. Right, like y'all is an efficient word. All y'all is also an efficient word.
Right.
Right.
We don't even use G's when we don't need to.
Yeah.
When we ain't needing to.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. And so, my whole thing is just like,
That's not efficient.
okay, we could have gotten this done. This transaction could have happened faster if you just would have said Sprite,
Right.
But
But no,
I
because
digress.
it bothers me when people say like, or it doesn't as much now, but like younger, when people would say pop or soda, I'm like, ugh, it's Coke.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
when it's
Yeah.
not Coke, it's Coke. That's how
Yeah.
we
We
say
call it
it. What are
pop.
you, Midwesterner?
We call it pop
Yankee?
up in the Midwest. We call it pop.
It's Coke.
Yeah. It's a soda pop. You got to pop.
Nope.
Beer's a barley pop. Why? If it got bubbles, it's pop.
Barley pop.
But anyway, so I digress. But so check this out. This is yesterday, Billboard magazine article, "The Changing World of Radio Promotion. As record labels and the media landscape evolve, pitching songs to radio has too. 7 executives break down how they do their jobs." We are going to dig into this article a little bit because there's so much to unpack from this that climbers need to see, right? Because like, here's what they're saying. What do they really mean, right? What's really going on? So it starts out when Glass Animals released their single Heat Waves in June 2020. The band's label Republic had a plan. We would work the song to alternative radio and then get started on campaigns at Top 40 and Hot AC. And for a while, it worked. Heat Waves hit #1 on Billboard's alternative airplay chart in March of 2021. So look at the time frame there. Just other things I want to point out here, right? They released the single in June of 2020. And in March of 2021, that's 9 months later, okay, it hits #1 on Billboard's alternative airplay chart. Now, in order for it to hit #1, what has to happen, Brent?
It has to get a lot of radio spins.
And that's over 9 months.
To reach that critical mass of, you had more spins than anybody else.
Right. Over 9 months.
Right.
Okay. Not 2 weeks. Let's see what happens. 9 months of grinding, right? And so it reaches #1 on alternative airplay chart in March of 2021 and had begun climbing on the pop airplay and adult pop airplay charts. I didn't know those were two different things at the same time. But by that July of 2021, so exactly 1 year later, the song had seemingly run out of steam, having reached the top 20 on both pop airplay charts, on both of those charts, before falling off entirely. Now, in the years in the past, this would have been the end of the campaign, says Lucas Romeo, senior VP of promotion at Republic Records. But ever since the streaming revolution and the massive influence of social media, there have been many roads to success in the modern music industry, right? Once again, there have been many roads to success now. It's not just radio. Soon, fate and new metrics intervened. Towards the end of August in 2021, the song began to explode on TikTok thanks to the All I Think About Is You challenge, which in turn meant it rocketed up Billboard's consumption-based charts, reaching #1 on hot rock and alternative songs in mid-September. So now we're, let's see, June, July, August, September. So we're 16 months into the release now, right? Since the release. By the first week in November, 18 months, Heat Waves had again cracked both pop airplay charts and eventually reaching #1 on each last month, roughly 81 weeks after its initial release. Romeo
Wow.
notes. This would never have happened in the past and was actually only the second time in chart history that it happened. Such is the life of a label promotions person in recent years, constantly reacting to changing metrics and new data from many more sources than had been available just 5 or 10 years ago. In the past, a radio campaign for a lead single would herald the release of the artist's album, with promotions people going market by market to convince individual program directors and DJs to add particular records to a playlist ahead of the album's release
Mhm.
to try to drum up sales and interest.
Yep.
Today,
Yeah,
however,
a single was basically just a commercial for Go Buy the Record,
that's right.
because
That's right.
that's how the record labels made money, was somebody buying the physical record, not
That's
push
right.
and play. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's how it was initially. That's how the business model was set up,
Yeah.
right? We sell
Mhm.
products, right?
Exactly.
Today, however, the radio campaigns are much more variable with data from streaming and social media, often fueling what gets worked to radio rather than vice versa. Now, I'm gonna repeat this sentence, Brent, and
Mhm.
then I want your take. What does this mean to you?
Oh, I better
Today,
listen this
however,
time.
radio campaigns are much more variable with data from streaming and social media often fueling what gets worked to radio rather than vice versa.
No, they're taking the lead from social media. They aren't leading to social media. They're the tail, not the head these days. And they're actually letting social media do the market research for them. What's working? Feed the hot hand. There's that too.
Right? I think that's right. And also I think the bigger part of your response there is they're the tail, not the lead, not the head.
Yep. Mhm.
Right? It used to be, I mean, payola used to happen because you get the song on the radio and that determines the trend,
Yep. Mhm.
right? And there are songs like, Rod Stewart's Maggie May, which was a B-side. It was never intended to be a single because one DJ started playing it.
And it's
And then all of a sudden it
awesome.
shoots up the charts and it
Yeah.
was awesome. And they were getting market penetration
Mhm.
in a market. And then all the other stations are like, this is a song, we need to put that on. And then boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, it out singled the single that it was on the back of, right? The
Yeah.
B side of. So there was a time when radio was the leader of everything. This is back to the article now. You put it on the radio, sales would follow,
Mhm.
marketing would follow, so on and so forth, says Lionel Ridnour, a major label promo veteran, formerly at Capitol, Arista, and Virgin, who is currently the founder and CEO of Anchor Promotions. That has now changed, and we have to take our cues from streaming or ticket sales or
Mhm.
something breaking on TikTok, other sources now, and then do what we want to do. So they're looking at your ticket sales,
Mhm.
or if you're breaking on TikTok, or if you're streaming a lot before they're going to put it onto radio. Now, the other thing this tells me is where radio used to be the tastemaker, now it's not. They can't afford to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Like they can't rock the boat because the boat is, I mean, it's just
Already
under the
taking on
waves
water.
now. Yeah, it's taking on
Well,
water, and
I'll
if you
tell you one thing this makes me think of real quick when we get back to your thing. So the same things that will lead radio to add your single are the same things that will lead you to get the record deal,
thank you.
streaming, ticket sales, show proof of concept, build a business that therefore the label wants to invest in and share profit from. So in other words, there ain't no way of getting around this, y'all. Not
I
right
know,
now. There's no way of getting
and
around it.
radio used to be like, so John Ojaka got a record deal from Airplay on one song on the radio that,
Mhm,
the rock in LA just picked up and started spinning, but because they were sort of the flagship alternative rock station for the whole country,
mhm,
like the whole country's slew of alternative rock radio stations looked to the playlist at K Rock and said, if it's going there, we need to put it here. Right.
mhm,
And so, as an independent artist without a record deal, he had a hugely charting, and this is in the late 90s, right? A huge charting song. And then he gets couple major label deal offers because of that. John Bon Jovi was an independent artist with a song on a compilation record from WAPP in New York
mhm.
called Runaway that got spun. And all of a sudden the phones lit up and it becomes a big, big single in the New York radio market, which also
Mhm.
happens to be the number one radio market in the country. And because of that, John gets a record deal, right? But that's not happening now,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So this is the part I love. This is what's awesome. So the next paragraph, which is not to say that radio has become less important.
For who?
Which is not to
And
say
not
that radio has become less important.
yeah.
You know what I think of when I read that line right there? I think of Spinal Tap. There's a
Right.
moment where if you haven't seen Spinal Tap, you have to watch this movie. If you're a musician, like, shame on you for never watching this movie. Like, watch it and thank me later, okay?
Yeah.
But, there's a moment where the interviewer is asking the manager of Spinal Tap, who has gone from, selling out the Enormo Dome in every market to really like opening up for the puppet show at like Six Flags, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's this huge decline, and it's just this big comedy about that, right? But he's like, "Do you think that interest in the band Spinal Tap is waning?" And he's like, "No, no, no, no. I just think that our audience is becoming more selective." It's just
Right,
like,
yeah.
what? What? Like, so
Oh.
here it goes on to say, as with almost everything in the music business over the past couple decades, the function of radio and in turn radio promotions has shifted dramatically,
Mm.
even as the core tenet remains the same. The job is to get hit songs played on the radio and to expose them to the widest audience possible for the longest amount of time. Now, there's some truth.
Mhm.
The job is to get hit songs played on the radio and to expose them to the widest audience, which is what? Reach.
Your reach. Mhm.
For the longest amount of time, which is what?
Frequency.
Thank you.
Mhm.
This is marketing 101, people. This is what so says Columbia Records VP of Promotion Samantha Brenner. That hasn't really changed that much. That's what they're trying to do. So, this is an accurate statement in the sense that her job description hasn't changed that much. But what we're talking about is, who's listening, right? Like,
Yeah.
are you getting market penetration from radio? So, as control over radio playlists has consolidated among fewer programmers and the ways in which people listen to music and the data to measure it are increasing widespread, radio promotions now involves more data, incorporates more parts of the label, and has made relationships and shaping a narrative an even larger factor, right?
Mhm.
So the narrative, what is it? It's story, right? And they go on to talk about the art of storytelling is more
Mhm.
important now than ever because every week there's an onslaught of these records that
Mhm.
have tremendous consumption, and a programmer is going to look at that every week. And this is from Nick Petropoulos, Senior VP and Head of Promotion at Arista Records. So you need that artist proposition for people to buy in, and you need to be patient and stick with it if we're going to make careers in this business.
Mhm.
So this is marketing, right? So like what makes your artist's 10 million streams different from this other artist's 10 million streams?
Uh,
It's the story.
the story. Well, and is it on a playlist or is it on your page? But yes, the
True,
story.
but I'm not talking about like the weight of the streams, but
Yeah,
like let's just assume
and they're
we're
all equal.
comparing apples and
Yeah.
apples. What from the radio programmer's perspective,
Mm.
he's like, how do I choose who's
Mhm.
going to have this very very expensive real estate on my playlist?
Mhm.
It's going to be the story. Well, that's no different than the way the consumer works, man. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Why does the program director want to choose it like that? Because he's trying to bend over backwards to give the consumers, the few that are left
Mhm.
listening to radio, whatever they want. I'm
Mhm.
not going to tell them what they want anymore. I need to know what they want, right?
Yeah.
So to this day, the promotion department is tied to every department at a label, marketing, sales, digital, because we all take that information and filter it to tell a story to radio, says Petropoulos. And the records and artists that have the best probability of success are those that have some success or momentum at all in all of those different departments, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of times the promotions role is associated with working and breaking particular songs, and that is ultimately the main focus of the job. But what it means to be working, quote unquote, records is about breaking artists as a whole, too. getting programmers to believe in an artist's story, in their journey, in their vision, and what they're trying to achieve, and helping radio see how it can be a part of that overall picture. That starts first and foremost with relationships. We've never talked about that on this podcast.
No.
Any and all time not spent coordinating the campaign internally or with management is spent talking to radio programmers, says Romeo. Republic Chairman CEO Monty Lippman has always told our team, when in doubt, call radio. There's always information to gather, records to work, and relationships to grow. Relationships with program directors, managers, artists, and fellow executives are all essential to success. So, man, I think I'm just looking at like what happened in CRS, right? I'm looking at that just floored me. That floored me, and I saw that a couple days ago. Like,
Yeah.
this is a huge nationwide industry radio seminar, and on the docket to be discussed is how we're turning into dinosaurs. What are we going to do?
Exactly. Yeah.
And the other thing that I loved about this article in Billboard was that it's still just talking about the basic tenets of promotion, So you need to be intentional about promotion.
Well, I was thinking while you were talking, so I probably missed important things, but about reach and frequency. Like, okay, so my wife had on like the Today Show or one of those this morning while I was getting my coffee, and before she went out to do some stuff, and I went out here, and so okay, those hosts, Al Roker, all of them, whoever's on there, I don't watch it, but Carson Daly, they're more famous than most of the people they do stories on. Right? So here's a story about somebody that had a baby in Ukraine. This American couple had a baby in Ukraine, and are they going to get out? This drama, and it's a neat, compelling story, and then it's gone. And who do we remember from the shows? Right? Who's more famous? Carson Daly, Albert. All these
Or
people.
the woman with the baby, right?
Yeah, or the one with the baby. Now, the one with the baby just had a ton of reach. Reached as many people as the host did. Did not have, and has a really compelling story. But the others have frequency. They'll be on there tomorrow,
Yeah.
and the next segment, and the next segment, and the next segment. They're more famous than most of the people they cover.
And you know what else I noticed just this morning, actually? And this is kind of gross. Some people think it's political, but it's not political. It's promotional.
Yeah.
But I don't care where you get your news, right? Like if you go to, if you go to CNN or MSNBC, if you go to Fox News, wherever you prefer to go get your news, go there right after you're done listening to this podcast and look at all the headlines. Can you find one on COVID?
Something on the Babylon Bee. It said, Vladimir Putin wins Nobel Prize in Science for ending COVID.
Eliminating COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't care how you feel about COVID. It's not about COVID. It's not about what's real, what's not, whatever. It's not in the news anymore. So now it's over, right? There's that movie Wag the Dog with Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so good. And he's like, well, how can they end the war? It's not their war. How can, in Robert De Niro, and he's all pissed off because he created this war to, out of thin air. It's a fabricated war that they're trying to sell the American people so that they take the heat off the president because he got caught in his office with like a Firefly girl, right? In the movie, which is like a Girl Scout, like a young girl doing something inappropriate with the girl. The president of the United States gets caught in this movie. So they're like, let's create a war because it's 8 days before the election to make sure that we don't, lose this and nobody's going to talk about the girl, right? So, and what is, and so the Congress works up once they figure out that they're all being played by media. So they come out and they just make an announcement on the mainstream media. The war is over in Albania, thank God, and we're just so happy and blah blah. And they do the whole spin. And Dustin Hoffman's like pissed off. He's like, "That's my war. They can't end the war. I'm the one that created the war." Right? He's like Dustin Hoffman's like a TV producer that was hired by Robert De Niro, who's like a dark, like a dark deep state dude, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That really runs things behind the show. And he's like, and Robert De Niro's like, no, the war's over. He's like, the war's not over. I say when the war's over. I started the war. I'll end the war. And Robert De Niro's like, the war's over. I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
That's the line, right?
Oh wow.
So this is the power of promotion, guys. Like you can't just look at it objectively. And what I want everybody to understand from this is number one, man, you as an indie artist, you can't afford radio.
Right.
Even if radio was working, right? Even if I'm completely wrong, and I'm not, okay?
Mhm.
But if I am off my rocker and I'm talking a load of crap here, and radio still breaks tons of artists, and that world, if we're in 1990, you don't have enough money to get radio to work for you,
Mhm.
to get the kind of market penetration that you need for months to move the needle, to translate into ticket sales and record sales.
I mean, record labels have departments for this, and most of the
Yeah.
time it doesn't work. And
Yeah.
it doesn't you get their artist where you wanna be.
So, and then, here's another thing that we haven't talked about that. And by the way, that's only like half the article. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but I think all the important things were at the beginning there.
Mhm.
But you're talking about a song that was being pushed for 81 weeks.
Mhm.
This is not a let's release the song and put it up on Spotify and see what happens.
Right.
Right? Like, so they are working, we attribute stuff to budget. And so it's easy to disqualify anything by saying, well, they're rich, they're a record label. I don't have that money. So blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But you do, because I'll tell you what, like if you go and save up a bunch more money to do another record,
Mhm.
that money could be still spent working the first one
Yeah.
and spending more time and more of your precious energy promoting what is competitive
Mhm.
and trying to get it out there and understanding that what promotion means is reach and frequency,
Yeah.
right? So what works on radio in the sense that it's reaching millions of people repetitively over and over and over and over and over again. That works on digital too. You just have
Mhm.
to do it differently than you did it on radio.
Yeah.
So be aware,
Yeah.
be intentional, and spend 95, like if you've got enough money to go and make a 12-song record, then make 3 songs,
Mhm.
spend whatever, because if you have enough money to make a 12-song record, number 1, and number 2, you're a climber, which means you're not a moron, and it means that you have also a promo budget, then still cut it down to 3 songs
Mhm.
and take the rest of the budget for those 9 songs and put that to the promo budget that you already have. Be intentional, focus on market penetration,
Mhm.
and look what'll happen.
Yeah. Start building a fan base that wants to hear that 4th song.
Exactly. And then, just as magically as you came up with another budget for the new record, you'll come up with another budget for the next 3 songs,
Mhm.
and it'll work, and you'll be like, "Holy crap, this is the way to do it."
Yeah.
Right? But I think as artists, y'all get bored
Mhm.
with the song.
Yeah, and the creation is probably the most fun part for you, and watching your songs come to life in the studio. I love that stuff,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
not what feeds the you gotta feed back into the beast, and that's so therefore I pitch my songs, and therefore I reach out and do networking, I do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I
You
sit
don't
down with
have to
blank paper, which
you
is
don't have to
hard.
forsake the creative part. You can
No.
be stacking up songs. I mean, hey, go stack up 100 freaking songs
Mhm.
so that the next 3 you pick are just
Dynamite. Just
dynamite,
yeah.
knock down, drag out, smash hits, but if you're going to be an artist that, creates revenue in this
Mhm.
business, then you got to promote 95% of the time. Your time, your energy, and your budget
Mhm.
needs to be put towards that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing,
And
and that 97
understandable.
other songs that aren't gonna make the next 3, the 100 that you wrote to pick your next 3, that gives you so much material for, "Hey, here's something no one's heard. Here's an exclusive thing.
Hello.
Here's a behind the scenes pass. Here's one
Hello.
that," it
Yep.
you can still use it in different ways. You just may not go in and cut the whole thing and make it your record, but it could be, as you're building this fan base, cool little Easter eggs and rarities and, the deleted scenes,
Yeah.
right? We all love the
If you're
deleted scenes if we're a fan.
right? Yeah, and the behind the and the stories. I mean, again, back to the stories, like in that article. Like telling those stories, like how many times, like what are the main verticals we talk about on Video Content Challenge, right?
Why aren't
Like
you
tell me
doing
a
an
story.
NFT or something of, here's work tapes that no one else has heard. I'm making 2 copies available. It's a work tape or it's a simple guitar vocal, but if you want it, here it is. Here's the
Yep.
cost. We're doing 1 or 2 of these. How cool would that
Yep.
be? If you're for as you're, and that it's gonna help subsidize your next record, but it's the, scarcity that could give that some value for the super fan to go, "Oh, I really like what they do. They said they're not gonna do," or even if they do a full version, "They're not putting this version out, and I'll have it first." They're just things you
Yeah.
can do.
And this is not
Anyway, sidebar,
this
sorry.
is not friggin' rocket science.
Mhm.
It's really not even that sophisticated, right? Some of the means to do it is, but
Yeah.
it's not rocket science. Like when I have a compelling artist with a competitive product, and this is like, this is the windmill that Daredevil chases, right?
Mhm.
With industry people, right? And I talked about this in the last episode, the devil you know versus the devil you don't.
Mhm.
Well, we just spent 25 grand going to alternative rock radio with our last single. Well, that was okay. Well, how did that work? And when did you get your money back? We didn't. Why are you asking me about your return on investment with 5 grand?
Yeah.
We both understand that you made this record and it needs to be promoted. Am I right? Yes. So are we talking about going back to the devil you don't?
Right.
Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, but if we go and we say we just need to get this song and keep getting it in front of new eyeballs and keep the warm eyeballs, the people who have already seen
Mhm.
it, just keep giving them more and more and more content and be relentless with it, you're going to move the needle.
Yeah.
You are going to have more fans than you did before you started. You can't do it organically. You need to have an organic plan
Mhm.
because as you spend money to get in front of new eyeballs and they come back to you and want to see what's going on your feed, if you're not, if that house isn't in order,
Yeah.
then you look like a flash in the pan,
Yep.
right? So, but it's just you are not reaching 99% of the people who already like you with your organic plan.
Yeah.
You're not reaching new people with your organic plan. Okay. So be intentional, step it up. And for those of you who are mid level and you got budgets and you can go to radio, you can't, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I'm not against radio. I'm against, I'm trying to disconnect your heart and your brain from the concept that radio is where you launch.
Yeah.
Because you can't launch there anymore. This article just fricking proves it. They're not launching a damn thing. They are amplifying what is already being launched. That's the end all be all. And
Mm.
that is down from all the new artists that we discovered on radio.
Yeah.
And now we're not discovering them on radio. Radio's deciding who's getting discovered, and that's what they're going to put on.
Mhm.
So it's not the trendsetter anymore. It's not the launching pad anymore. It's the second stage rocket, to use the term from my esteemed co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. It's the second stage rocket.
Mhm.
So spending your money on radio, and for that matter, if we look at like the chain smokers, right? After they broke
Mhm.
digitally, they're 100% of their attention is on digital to the point where they're rubbing against the radio department at their label.
Mhm.
They have songs on the radio, but they
Yeah.
don't care how they release them. And that's not their focus, even after they got the major label deal.
That's gravy.
And they're so intentional. Have you thought about that? They're so intentional that they're like, put it on radio, don't put it on radio. We don't care.
Yeah.
This is where we broke. This is what we're going to focus on. And the team around the band, around the artist, has not lost focus on what they are. So whatever happens on radio is gravy.
Yeah. I mean, radio is a show pony, but digital, that's a workhorse.
Yeah. And so be intentional. You know, it's all about the repetition. Whatever it is that you think you have for your content, it's not enough.
Mhm.
That's why we do video content challenge. You need more than a lyric video and more than a music video. A lot more
Yeah.
than that, right? If you're going to be able to push something out for 6 months.
Mhm.
So there you go. That's how you make it happen, guys.
Love
Hey, get your free download. That's it's called Whoever Rules the Road. No, it's called Whoever Owns the Traffic Rules the Road. And it's all about kind of reframing your brain around how to think about digital and untying that knot of broadcast so you can understand the difference between the two and understand what, you know, why did things work on broadcast? Because there was reach and there was frequency.
Mhm.
And then how did broadcast supply the reach and the frequency? And then now you can go and ask the right questions and start to formulate really cool, successful, effective promo strategies on digital, and it teaches you how to honor that platform. Just go to giftfromjohnny.com, JOHNNY, giftfromjohnny.com, and tell us where to send it, guys. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.